Hello everyone and welcome to the newest viewer verdict on the channel, and we are revisiting Tamriel for the first time in just over a year, I think it is, or maybe even a bit longer than that. This is a game I have covered on the channel before. This is the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms by Modiphius. Plays very similarly to Fallout Wasteland Warfare, a little bit simplified, and uses different dice types, d6s instead of d20s, d12s, etc. But either way, very similar in how it plays. Played it a few times back in the day. It did okay, not super great I would say, especially compared to Wasteland Warfare, but I thought the Viewer Verdict series would be a perfect chance to bring it back and give it another fair shot. So if you aren't familiar, in a Viewer Verdict video, I'm going to play this game for you, and then you're going to say in the comments afterwards whether you are for or against it being a more regular thing on the channel. You can go into as much or as little detail as you like. What's important is that you cast your vote, because it helps me provide the channel with what you actually want as fast as I possibly can. And also, whether or not this gets a lot of fours, it will not affect whether or not Wasteland Warfare is coming back. It is coming back. I have a set date in mind, but I'm not going to announce it just yet. So, it doesn't influence that series at all, so don't worry about that. Either way, usually also in these Viewer Verdict videos I go quite into detail about how the game plays in case this is the first time you're seeing it. I'm going to mostly just give an overview in some basic terms. It should still be easy enough to follow if you aren't familiar, but I will say the very first video I did on this, which is Delve Mode number 1, it'll be in the same playlist. It's about 50 minutes long. I go into a lot of detail. In fact, I rewatched it to help myself relearn the game. It's been that long. So that honestly really covers what the game is, the basics of understanding what's happening. And I'd just be repeating myself if I did it again. So you may want to go watch that one first, or just go by my overview that I'll do here, and then if you want more detail, you can go watch that as a follow-up video. So here is the hero characters I'm going to be using today, and I picked two of them. One of them has to be our leader. It's going to be the Dragonborn, and just to bring the Septum point limit up over 200, I think it's 210, 211 roughly speaking. That means it's more fitting to play on a 3x3 table rather than 2x2 size. I brought a couple of Imperial recruits. In the scenario we're playing today, let's just pretend that they saw these passing adventurers and recruited their help to help clear out the village of some nasties, because normally you wouldn't be able to bring these Imperial recruits with the adventurers because they don't share the keyword. Although actually the Dragonborn does have the same Imperial marker as them, so maybe that's okay. She doesn't, but she does share one with the Dragonborn, so maybe that's okay actually in the end. Either way, for the purposes of today, I'm just having to use the models I have available. So, the Dragonborn, Champion of Skyrim, he's the leader. A basic stat card for a hero is someone who can be fully customized with what spells, weapons, armor, quick slot stuff they have. Followers use little cards where everything is as it must be and you can't customize at all. They're usually cheap and pretty easy to kill. They've got their health, stamina, magicka, height, cost, which you then add on your gear to. Then they've got their 5 basic stats: strength, agility, endurance, intelligence, wisdom. And for the Dragonborn, he's been given a steel sword, a banded iron shield, and banded iron armor. He's also been given Fus Roda, aka Unrelenting Force, as his dragon shout, and this is just what you use to track your thum, as it's called. Aranea is a sorcerer, priestess of Azura to be exact. Never used her on camera because I'm pretty sure I painted her after the point at which the last video was live. I made her focused on lightning magic, so I want to try lightning magic. So her cheap basic lightning spell is Sparks, which is one of the ones you start the game with if you make a character in Skyrim. And then she's got the slightly harder to cast, or slightly more costly spell to cast, Lightning Bolt. So we'll hopefully see that as well. She's got decent magicka, her health and stamina not so much. And she also has a perk called Mage Armor, which means if she's equipped with no armor, which she isn't, she actually gets armor, because I guess she knows the Oak Flesh or whatever spell it's called, or just has that perk where it's probably called Mage Armor, where if you're not wearing any armor rated stuff, you actually get some armor to keep mages alive a little bit. So it gives her a red die, which actually puts her on par almost with the Dragonborn's defense roll. And as I say, these two guys on the side, they're just simple. They use that little card. Simple as that, roughly 210 septums worth. Let's see who they're against. So in Call to Arms, if you're playing the Delve mode, you're going up against the AI, either by yourself or with friends. There is also Battle mode, which is more like two forces fight each other in your standard skirmish tabletop game, although adversaries do also spawn on the table because they are a means by which to gain victory points to level up your characters, which is something I forgot to mention. If you get 5 victory points, you can spend them to flip your card and get some bonuses. Only on heroes. doesn't work for little followers that just have set cards. Also doesn't apply to enemies who have very similar cards to followers. They have everything set, you can't customize them. So usually when you make adversary force for delve mode, they're supposed to have like a 20 or 25% point advantage on you because they use a respawn mechanic. Because of what I have available, they're about identical. I think they were actually 200 on the dot, so they're slightly less, but again, just using what I have available. So they have a Draugr Overlord. That's going to be this gentleman here, and for the purposes of marking them for where they spawn, he's going to be number 1. There is 3 Draugr with great swords, 1, 2, 3. They're going to be battle group number 2. Then there is 3 skeletons with bows, they're battle group 3. And then there is 3 frostbite spiders, and that's battle group 4. Those battle group matters for rolling for reinforcements at the top of each turn, and for who actually starts on the table. Because of the table size and point limit we're playing, there's 5 treasure chests on the table. That means there will be 5 of these enemies on the table at the start of the game. It'll be randomized. Usually I do that on camera. I'm going to do it off camera now, just to have it done quicker, to try and keep this more succinct. But they use an AI matrix. If you're familiar with Wasteland Warfare, it's super similar. You roll a die, and based on the symbol and their path, either might, shadow, or sorcery, it tells you the letter, and then also tells you your target and priority. Super simple, and there's some faction special rules on the back as well. Super simple. So with that, I'll get everyone set up. We'd help if I told you what the goal is, but you know what, let's put everyone on the table first. We start 6 inches in from a table edge, which is similar to Wasteland Warfare. I will be drawing a quest card, which are just out of sight over here. So there's an additional means by which to score victory points, since that's going to be relevant for how we win. And at the end of each turn we also draw an event card, which both gives us a weird thing happening, similar to Wasteland Warfare, but also respawns usually between 1 and 3 enemies. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And so we are set up and good to go, so I should probably tell you what we're doing. In order to keep it a bit more bite-sized, we're going to play 6 turns. Usually it's 8 to 10 turns if you're using one of the quests listed in the quest book that comes with the old core box. That's another thing to mention, I'm using the old core box stuff. Don't have the printout of the new rulebook because it's too long. And I remember reading through it and being a bit disappointed that not enough had been cleaned up, but that's a story for another day. So, we're going to play 6 turns in which I'm going to try and gain a total of 10 victory points. You get 1 victory point for a kill. If you get a master treasure, I believe that gives you some extra. And I think if you kill a master, you might get some extra. I'll check if that happens. The Overlord is the master, who did actually start on the table. He has started over here with this treasure. A spider has started in the main square or path here. A Draugr has started up there. Archer is in the pen over there, and just out of view because it's behind this house, I believe, another Archer has spawned up there. That's 5 treasure chests based on the point value being played. Quick note, again, if you aren't familiar with the game, adversaries in delve mode get a set number of activations based on the point value being played. Because of the point value we're playing, they get 3, and there's obviously more than 3 on the table, so how is that fair? Well, what happens is, if one of my team ends their turn fully within 6 inches of an adversary, they get to activate. They do their full turn right after, out of sequence as well. So they will get more activations that way, and it does mean if they start piling up, they can really pick on you. So you've got to be careful with that. You can't activate a model that's already activated though, so that's worth knowing. And in this game, unlike most other skirmish games, particularly Wasteland Warfare, you can't do the same action twice. So you can't move, you can't attack, but you can move and attack, or do a spell, or a special action like raid a treasure chest. Because we're playing as adventurers, the Dragonborn, and I think any friendlies within 6 of him can do a treasure kind of search action for free, from what I vaguely remember. That's another thing to know, it has been a while since the last time I played rather. It does have a lot of minutiae that is hard to understand. Not going to pretend it doesn't. It's by Modiphius after all, so they expect things not to be done 100% perfectly, but hopefully at least entertaining. On that note, there is also going to be another way to potentially get some victory points. We're going to do a quest. I'm going to cut the deck randomly and see if it's a quest that's applicable to where we are. This is a chain quest, the scroll, let's see. Also, the writing on these cards are tiny, so I am going to have to pull it away from the camera to read it. I apologise, but look at how small the text is. Requirement, Elder Scroll Dragon quest item. Nope. I could look it out, but we're not. Recover Zephyr. No, a quest that's not a chain, please, because that's part... Oh, there we go, this could work. Place a spare NPC token as close to the centre of the board as possible. This token may not be interacted with by any model until one of your models performs a special action while in contact with it. From that point on, the token remains in contact with the model that freed it. If an adversary contacts the token, it is removed from play. The model with the token must move into contact with the board edge before the game ends. So that's actually a way to score 4 victory points down there. So that's actually pretty good. So yeah, okay, maybe that's why they got hired then. I like how these feed into the potential story you're playing. So roughly, the centre of the table is like roughly there, which is perfect. So there's going to be an NPC token there. The game comes with some. I need to get into contact with it, and then I need to walk it off a table edge for 4 victory points. And if anyone else touches it, they die, and this is lost. I'd say that's a pretty fun one. Okay, so we'll be back, ready to start the game with a civilian icon roughly there. I shall measure it out exactly, and we'll get started with me going first. So there's where the civilian token is after measuring out exactly. Last thing I want to mention before we start actually moving models, I'm going to try using static cam for this, as I have been for most series we've been covering at the moment. I obviously prefer static cam because I've not exactly got a steady hand, but it might make it harder to see dice rolling if I use a dice tray, so I'm going to just roll on the table, which might be worse. It might knock stuff out the way. You let me know as well while you're also saying for or against. Do you mind the static cam? Because I will probably also apply this to Wasteland Warfare when it returns. Does static cam make things nicer because there's less shaking, but you might not see the dice as well when they're rolled? Or do you want an overview of the battlefield where it's constantly moving with my very best effort to keep it as steady as possible? So let me know that too. So to get the game started, I activated Aranea. Most models in the game move 6 inches. You can spend a stamina point to sprint for an extra 3, or down to 2 if you're wearing heavy armour, I believe. Some models move slower. I remember one of the Dark Brotherhood, the old guy, he moves slower because he's old. And beasts move further, I think. But either way, I moved her here because she can actually go for a bit of a Hail Mary, decent damage on the Overlord before the game even starts. Plus, she's outside of 6 of any adversaries. 1 will still activate in normal turn order, but it does mean 1 isn't getting a bonus turn for her being too close. So she's going to shoot a lightning bolt at him. Range 12, so she can do it. Cost 2 of her 4 mana, so that's just a little token there to say she's spent it. She could also have spent 1 stamina to sprint, but I want her to be quite safely away from them. Much like Wasteland Warfare, you start with a skill die, and then you throw in some dice to make the damage and the accuracy. So for this particular spell, she is getting 1 die that affects accuracy and 2 that will affect damage. If she gets that helmet icon, she throws in an extra, what colour of die is it? An extra red die, so she's really wanting to get that helmet because that'll make it do really good damage. So she's going to shoot a lightning bolt, and it's on her casting skill of 4, so she's looking for 4 or less. And that is a crit. And the potion there means she can replenish 1 used up. That's a really good roll. So actually, she's immediately getting back 1 mana, which is really nice. She got the helmet, so she gets a red die thrown in. Yes, it is a red die. I'm just double checking because I want this to try and be as correct as possible. Yep, it says add red, so I will. That became another extra hit. So currently she's doing 3 damage. Crits usually add in dice. I'm going to quickly go check to make sure that still applies to spells. Yep, page 8, it says an attack of any type, so it applies, which means you get to add a black die, which has the potential for the most damage in the game on a single die. So let's see what that becomes. It's only 1 more damage. You don't apply any more special symbols, you can only ever pick 1. And that means she's doing a total of 4 damage against him, and his base armour, because he hasn't had a chance to throw up a block or do anything else yet, which is why I wanted to hit him, is 2 yellow. So we're going to have to take this, so he's taking 4 damage currently. He blocked 2 of it and took 2. He has 4 health, so he'll have 2 remaining. Oh, it also does shock. I'll check what shock does as well. But that's pretty decent, honestly, because he can be scary if he gets into combat. So the shock special condition isn't applicable here because it takes away yellow die worth of magicka, which they have none of, so just for the sake of it, he would have lost 1 magicka if he had any. He doesn't, he's not a wizard, he's not a mage. He has a Fus for Da ranged attack because the Overlord's doing the video game, but that just uses his strength, so nothing to do there. So you randomise which adversary you want to activate. I'd usually just roll a d6 and then you roll the black die and go by the symbol on their AI track. Draugrs and Skeletons just use the Draugr card because I think it's just for generic undead. Either way, it was the Draugr with the greatsword up here by the treasure. He rolled for objective, which would usually mean he just camps the treasure because that's their objective, but because we have that quest active where there's a civilian who's desperately wanting saved in the middle of town, I'm going to count that as the primary objective because he's worth 4. So that's the most victory points available on the table. So he's just moved in to secure him a little bit, block him. He has taken up a two-handed weapon block. It's not as effective as if you have a shield, and also only works in close combat from what I remember. So if a ranged attack comes in, that's useless. But he's at least blocking the civilian to make it harder for me to get to him and get him out of there. And these red symbols are just noting that he's activated. So say for instance I had someone who could somehow make it up here. They won't, but let's say they did. The spider, if they hadn't activated yet, would get a free activation as part of the adversary reactions. He would not though, because he's already had a full proper turn. Next I activated the Dragonborn, spent one of his stamina to do a run essentially, which is a move plus 3 inches, so 9 inches in total. And that got him there, which means that the spider there that hasn't activated, but absolutely will if I don't kill it now, because it would do a reaction when I'm done, I'm going to try and Fus Rodam to get him out, although specifically I'm actually just going to do a Fus Ro, because when you do a Thum, you get to choose how intense you make it, up to its maximum level of 3. I'm going for 2, you regenerate 1 at the top of every activation. So, for level 2 Unrelenting Force, it is a green and 2 yellow. Pushback extra 2 inches, plus on top of the 2 it does base I believe, but he's going to get stopped by the Draugr anyway. And it's a strength test, and the Dragonborn strength is 5, which means it's less likely to mess up. Now that is a 6, but it comes down by 2, so it does hit for 2 damage. Now what is the defense on a spider? It is 1 yellow die. They have 1 health, so no matter what he rolls, he is dead. So the Fus Ro fires into him, he goes flying into the skeleton and splatters, the Draugr, and splatters on him. They're dead, and he gains the party's first victory point for that. That means a reaction won't happen, because I believe the skeleton is outside of 6, I tried to make sure of that. Oh, it's very close. Yeah, he is out, just out. So that's not a reaction, but that skeleton could still randomly be selected to activate now. The adversaries are still allowed 2 more proper activations. Well, it was the Draugr Overlord who was randomly selected to be the adversary's second activation, and he got aggressive, he wants to attack. So, enemies are considered to have unlimited stamina, but they're only allowed to do 1 boost of 1 type in their activation. So, i.e., if you have to boost to get the extra movement required to get into combat, you can't then do a boost in combat, which we'll cover when it happens. So, he boosted for sprinting to get the 9 inches to get into base to base with the Dovahkiin, aka Dragonborn, and now he's going to swing at him, and he swings with a red and a yellow, and his skill check is a 5 because he is also very strong. Let's roll this here and see what he gets. So unfortunately he got a crit. Oh good grief. He also gets to heal 1 because he rolled that potion icon, I think. I don't remember if adversaries are allowed to take advantage of that, but hey, let's just say, to save me looking it up, that they do. So he gets a black die on top of that, huh? For that crit. Oh dear. Well, that is 6 damage, so he better block something or he's dead. Base defense on the Dragonborn with the armor I gave him is red, which means he can block up to 3. He has 1 super armor, which I always did wrong back in the day. Super armor just means you counter piercing, which normally negates defense. He only blocked 1. Oh wait, maybe the helmet does something. Oh, it does. It throws in a yellow die. You need at least 1 success, buddy. Oh, okay. So he blocked 2, i.e. that, took 4, and barely lived. He has 1 health remaining. Oh dear. So the Dragonborn's in trouble. Let's maybe try and save him with one of the Imperial recruits, who are my last activations. I made the first one activate sprint, so he could go the 9 inches to get into base to base with the melee combat, and spent his other stamina on what's called a power attack, so let's cover that. In combat, you can choose to spend stamina 1 on either making a precision strike or a power attack. Precision strike adds an extra green die to try and increase your chances of it landing. A power attack adds an extra yellow, hoping for more damage, and if you do damage you stagger them, which just means they can't use stamina for their next attack. So pretty good. He's getting a green die extra anyway because they now outnumber the Draugr in combat, with the Dragonborn still being there. So his normal attack is skill die plus red plus green. Extra green is from the Dragonborn, extra yellow is from him making it a power attack. Unfortunately, because he's just like a lowly Imperial Recruit. He doesn't have a great chance to hit. It's on 3s. And that is a 6. Oh, but it comes down to a 3. It comes down to a 2, actually. So that's not too shabby. Does the helmet do anything? Let me just check. Nope, he's looking for swords. If it was cross swords, he would do piercing, which would negate some of the Overlord's armour. But hey, 3 damage isn't bad. The Overlord had, what, 2 yellow for defence it was? Yep, with 1 super armour. He went and blocked it all. Oh well, would you look at that. The final set activation for the adversaries in turn 1 was thankfully the skeleton right at the top of the map, so they couldn't really do much. They rolled for movement, their path of shadow, they like kind of skulking around. So he sprinted forward, he's just going to heal sprint back anyway, so I didn't bother putting it on the table. And he hid, which is what the eye symbol means there. It means he'll get some bonuses if he gets a ranged attack out of hiding. It also means you have to detect him if you want to attack him, and just be generally quite annoying. So on the assumption that I don't set off the other skeleton on the table, which is right there, he won't actually get to activate this round. It's over to my last Imperial Soldier. I think if I want him to get into combat though, I might have to have him come round this side. I don't know if that's worth it or not. We'll have to see. Oh, I just realised you couldn't see. Sorry, by this side I mean, to kind of come round this side of him. In order to stop that skeleton getting an activation, I just made him run along by Aranea, so he's not going to be able to jump into that combat. I get first activation in the next turn, so I'm just going to have to rely on the Dragonborn taking out the Overlord. I don't think he will. It's very tough to... He trusts the strongest thing on the table to start right next to me. But what happens now is we go to the end phase of the turn where we draw an event card which will then respawn some enemies. They come on as far as possible from you, so they're going to come in the top right of the table. It puts them very far, but it's just to have a constant stream of potential VPs to earn, and it's only ever the trash mobs that come back, the ones with 1 health. The ones that are classed as elites or masters, such as the Overlord, they don't come back if they're killed. Well, let's see what event card we get. I'm just going to cut the deck randomly. If it's one that is not applicable to our situation, I shall draw another one. The Ghost of Old Holdren, or Holden. Again, the text is very small for me, so I'm going to have to move the card to read it, I think. At least 3 treasure and or master treasure tokens in play when the card is drawn. Yes, there's 5 treasure chests. If a model rolls a critical fail during a search action on a chest, which would normally trigger a trap, or a master chest, draw a trap card but do not gain a treasure. Instead, you find the bent and rusted sword that you seek. Be the first to find the sword and complete the quest. Okay, so it's worth 2 victory points. Oh yeah, this number here is the number of enemies that will respawn, so I'll randomly respawn either the spider that died, or the spare Draugr, or a spare skeleton. And as I say, they start as far away from you as possible. So this is another quest that's in play now, I guess. I can't remember if you're allowed multiple quests. I think that means it's a Radiant quest, so it is just like any party can do it. So either way, we're going to keep that in play, just because it's more fun. As we start turn 2, a Draugr with a greatsword has spawned, and he's appeared at the very tippy top right of the table. I think you can just about see him up there. At the top of a new round, you heal 1 stamina, you heal 1 magicka. You don't heal health unless you have like a rule or a bit of equipment that says you do, so that stays, but the magicka and stamina just happen naturally. So does the Thum for the dragon shouts as well, you get 1 back. Alright, so we're going to start going a bit faster now. I'm activating the Dragonborn, and he's going to swing that sword of his into the Draugr Overlord, normally rolling 2 yellow and a green. He's getting a bonus green from having outnumber bonus, and he's doing a power attack to throw in an additional yellow, so potentially pretty decent. We shall see, and it's on 5s. He got a crit, so that's good, because his actual base damage was not great. So that's throwing in a black die. Ooh, perfect. So that is 5 damage going against the Draugr Overlord's just 2 defense. 5 comes down by 1, and that is 4 damage, which means he is thankfully dead. Now, because he's a master, I'm going to have to double check. I think he has to get finished off. Like, I think he goes down on 1 knee, kind of similar to how hero characters do. So I'll need to double check that first before we continue. Nope, couldn't see anything about adversaries doing that, just player character heroes. So if the Dragonborn goes down, there's a chance he doesn't die. But either way, what you do get for killing a master in close combat is a bit of treasure. So I'm going to split the treasure deck randomly. Let's go for whatever this is. He found a sweet roll. What does a sweet roll do? Discard this card as a free action. Take an endurance attribute test. If passed, restore 1 health. He'll immediately do that because he still has an action left. Then this is a free action. So take an endurance test. His endurance stat is a 4. He got a critical fail. I think he almost choked to death on the sweet roll. So unfortunately, not only does it not do anything, it's a free action at least. So the Overlord is gone and will not come back, but oof. So unfortunately, based on his current situation for his other action, the Dragonborn is just going to go 6 towards the right here. If we just pull back, his goal is to aim for this treasure chest to try and get the victory point there. Speaking of victory points, I couldn't see anything that said specifically masters give more victory points when killed. I think it's scenario specific, so we'll just give 1 to try and keep it difficult. So they're up to 2 in total now. First adversary action this turn was the Draugr with the greatsword in the central square. He got that he wants to move. So you kind of have to, it has the same rule Wasteland Warfare does, where if the AI randoms something that isn't logical, you can kind of interpret it slightly differently just to make them not be stupid. So he did just move, but he moved into a guarding position of that treasure chest, because I think you can't open it if an adversary is touching it. So he threw up, or rather kept up, his two-handed block and has just moved into a defensive position there. Well, I'm going to try and snatch the kill on that Draugr. Aranea moved up just 6 inches for her other action. I'm going to zap with some sparks. Normally it's just a single yellow die for 1 mana, or magicka, sorry. She put in a second because you're allowed to boost it, which adds an extra yellow die. It's also a ridiculously easy spell to cast, so it has a -2 modifier in your favour. So that 4 already would have been good enough. She's doing really well. She did well in the first turn, she's doing well now. She's just got 3. A basic Draugr's defense at range is a single yellow die. He doesn't get anything extra for 200 block against ranged. He blocked 1, but he only has 1 health and takes 2. So he gets obliterated off the table for another VP. He can obviously come back again when enemies respawn, but that is the 3rd victory point of the 10 I said they had to get. The skeletal archer in the middle of the map activated for the adversaries, and that's their 2nd set activation. And he wants to move, but moving didn't make much sense, so he came around the corner and he's going to take a shot within 8 inches at Aranea. He's doing it from from hidden rather, in the sneak attack rules. So we're going to test whether or not he gets seen first, because whether or not it does damage. If you're attacking at range, you do a test to see if you keep up the sneak, so they don't know where you came from. It's a sneak skill test, which I presume is on your agility. So let's see. And that means it is. So he stays hidden, which means they have to try and detect him using their int. For a sneak attack, you get an extra yellow die, unless you're a hero in the Path of Shadow, then you get an extra red die. Normally, it's just... oh, actually, I think it is normally 2 yellow. Yeah, so he's rolling 3 yellow. That's not good. And he is hitting on 4. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong card. He is hitting on 3, sorry, 3. So that is a 5, it comes down to a 4, so it is actually a miss. Thank goodness for that, because that would have been 4 damage against poor Aranea, but he did stay hidden. I moved up with one of the Imperial recruits and got into base to base thanks to spending stamina to do a sprint with the treasure token here, so I'm going to flip it. If it's blank, it means it's just an open treasure chest. It isn't locked. If it is locked, you could use a dexterity roll to try and pick the lock, or use a strength roll to try and break it open. But because that is just empty, it means he's opened it. I'm just shuffling the treasure deck, and then we're going to draw one on camera. Split the deck randomly. He's found something cool. Now, followers can't use gear, but he can hold on to it and give it to the Dragonborn. That is struggling to come into focus, isn't it? These cards are tiny. There we go. It's an ancient Nord battle axe of frost. It is two-handed, so he'd have to lose his shield to use it, and it's cumbersome, which I think makes it harder to hit with, but it's really, really powerful and does bleed. So he's holding on to that. He can't use it, but for opening the treasure chest, which was not locked, he gains the party 1 victory point. So that's our 4th. The last set activation for the adversaries in this round was the new Draugr that spawned at the top right of the map. He sprinted forwards for 1 stamina, threw up a 200 block, and that's it. The skeleton that's in the animal pen might still activate if I trigger a reaction. With just 1 Imperial soldier left to go, I'm going to try and keep on avoiding that, and for as long as I can, I'm going for the other treasure and trying to get that civilian in the centre, really. Yep, so the last Imperial recruit just did a sprint for 1 stamina, got out in front of the Dragonborn and is going for that chest. If they manage to get 1 more victory point from anywhere, the Dragonborn can spend 5 to level up. You still have them, so it still counts towards the 10 we're trying to get before time runs out. But he can spend them to level up, and if you level up, you fully heal, which would be very, very useful for him not dying. So at the end of turn 2, we draw another event card, And let's just do this one. Assuming we can. Secret passage. I remember this one from back when we played before. Place a secret passage token within 3 inches of the target model, and then place another within 8 the first secret passage token. Okay. Neither token may be placed in contact with a model or another token. For the rest of the game, any model voluntarily moving into contact with one of these tokens may immediately be placed in contact with the other. Also, 2 enemies are respawning, and they're still going to appear at the other end of the map. So as we start turn 3 of a potential 6, although it doesn't look like we're going to go or need to go the full distance because of the opportunities we have to gain VP here, we only need to find 6 more and that's a win. The secret passage, I didn't really know which model it meant for the initial placement, so I presumed it would just be the last one to activate. So it's within 3 of him, and then within 8 of that it's the other one, and I placed them in such a position where if someone grabs that civilian, take him there, they'll skip right to here and make him that much easier to save. So that is hopefully what's going to happen this turn. I think that about covers it. Let's just try and get those 6, and I'm probably not going to worry about getting the axe from him to the Dragonborn because I want the Dragonborn to live, so we're going to prioritise trying to get 1 VP somehow. Oh, and it would help if I covered what respawned off of that event card as well, and it was 2 spiders, so 2 frostbite spiders have now appeared at the top of the map. So I'm activating one of the recruits and going into base to base with this treasure token here, and it is locked, so you can either do a strength test of 2 or a lockpicking dex test of 2. What's his best option here? It's a 3 either way. Yep, 3 either way. So he's going to try and bash that open. If he gets a crit fail, he actually finishes that quest we got from the event card. And unfortunately, he did neither, and that's his actions used up. Now the chest stays there and can still be opened by someone else though. Well, unfortunately for the Imperial soldier, or recruit rather, in the middle of the square there heading for the civilian, the skeleton there that's hiding is the one who was randomised to activate. He got move again, so he's moved back into a more advantageous position because he wants to engage at range, and he's taking a shot at him. Now I forgot, because of stamina boosting, you can stamina boost a ranged attack as well to make it more accurate. That's the only option for it. He should have had a green last time. Either way, let's first roll to see if he stays hidden. That rolled off camera, but I assure you it is a 10. It was a 10, I just knocked it to a 9 by accident. So his stealth is gone after this shot, regardless of whether it does damage or not, so that's good for me, because that might mean RNA I can get him. We're going to have to pull back a little bit more to see these dice. This is the kind of problem we have with not having a dice tray. Oops, still managed to hit stuff. And he very much has indeed hit, yes. For 4 damage plus a helmet, does the helmet do anything for a skeleton? It does piercing 1. Yeah, I think he's dead like 6 different ways. He rolls a single yellow and does not have protection against piercing, and has... oh, he has 2 health. No, but yeah, no matter what he rolls on a single yellow, he's definitely dead. He blocked 1, but takes 3. So he is out of there. Alright, this is all on Aranea. She paid 1 stamina of her pathetic 2 stamina. She is a mage after all. They're all apparently asthmatic. To get into base to base with the lost civilian, the one who wants saved. Now you have to use a special action to begin the saving process, so she's not doing that this turn. I want to take out that skeletal archer, so she's going to try and use, you know, I was going to do sparks, but maybe it's a better idea to do lightning bolt to try and guarantee it. Okay, you know what, I've changed my mind, because I was going to spend 2 on a boosted spark. I'll just spend 2 on a lightning bolt. That means she's getting a green die to help it land. If she gets a helmet, she gets a red die thrown in. Sure, let's try that. I'm going to have to pull back to show you the results. It was a 5, however. -1 brings down to a 4, and she was looking for a 4. So thankfully it hit. It's only hitting for 1 damage, but that helmet, I'm really glad I did change my mind and do lightning bolt. Throws in a red die, which is putting in 1 bit of extra damage. That's still very much survivable, I think, because they get a yellow die for defense. He blocked 1. Oh, does the helmet do anything? Nope. So blocked 1, took 1, skeletons have 1 health. He is out of there. So that means a bunch of stuff happens. We earn our 5th victory point, so we're halfway to the win, although if we get the civilian off the table we get 4. I'm going to spend 5 to level up the Dragonborn, which means he fully heals. We flip his card over, some of his base stats change, and usually you get additional keywords and things like that. I think he becomes intimidating. Oh, he had intimidation anyway, actually. That may have mattered for the Draugr, I didn't realise. Trying to remember all the perks and then also keywords and also racial traits is also very complicated in this game. It's something you would get used to if you played it a lot, though, I suppose. But yeah, he's leveled up, he gets +1 to strength, so that means it's easier for him to land hits. But the important thing is, with spending those 5 victory points, he's fully healed. And that means he's not going to die in a hit from a random skeleton or anything like that. The victory points, despite being spent, still count towards our total, it just means they can't be spent again. Second set activation for the adversaries was one of the spiders who spawned in, so they just did a move forwards. I swear I remember the base movement of animals, not monsters. Monsters are actually a different classification. I forgot about that. These are just classed as wildlife, I think. I could have sworn they had a higher base move, so they could sprint further in total. I think, like from memory, 9 inches base, and then they could sprint the extra 3. But I had a quick look and could not find it, so by all means remind me, because it's driving me nuts trying to find it. The original layout for the rulebook for this game is definitely poor. They redid it, to be fair, but you have to print it off yourself, and it's quite long, and it isn't a super great improvement. Well, my last activation for the turn, since the other Imperial recruit is dead, is a super simple one. The Dragonborn is just going to go try and open this chest, and he has a strength skill. Oh, so he can do it as a free action because of his faction. His strength is now 6, so I'd be very surprised if he didn't. I see. It's like Wasteland Warfare, never left us. Never mind, he crit failed. That's a really sturdy chest, so he can't really do anything else. So he's just going to chill there, and that is the end of a turn. Now I don't think we can win in turn. What are we going into? This is the end of turn 3, I believe. So we're going into turn 4, but we can definitely set up the win. We need to break that chest and get the civvy out, and that's 5. Let's see what happens. Change of plan. Draw a stage 1 quest card. You may immediately choose to discard your current quest or keep the new one, or vice versa. I'm going to choose to keep the current one because we're about to achieve it. One thing respawns. Alright. And it's going to be in the top right again because I'm hanging around the bottom, so it's just going to be up by the spider. So as we begin turn 4, I think I only did 2 enemy adversary set activations there, because the skeletal archer in the centre activated then died. Then one of the spiders activated and moved. I'm pretty sure I didn't do another one, so I've randomised one. It was the Draugr that spawned the turn before with the greatsword. He has sprinted forward and is now bearing down on Aranea. And speaking of Aranea, we're activating her first, absolutely, because this is pivotal to me being able to win. She's spending a special action to do the Lost quest, so she's in base to base with it. Any model can perform a special action while in contact with it. From that point on, the token remains in contact with the model that freed it. So I guess it was tied up or whatever. So she's doing that, and her other action is a move to the secret passage. Any model that comes into base-to-base contact will be immediately placed in contact with the other. So she's actually teleporting all the way down here, and she needs to get to the table edge with the person she freed. So that means at the top of turn 5 we can do that. So all that means is this turn or one more, because I don't think anything's going to catch her, or even if they do, I don't think they'll kill her. They just need to be able to break that chest open, and hopefully they'll be able to do it. Well, random works this way sometimes, but that Draugr that is now a bit of a threat was the one who was randomly selected for their first activation. He did a charge. It did not get him in contact with the secret passage though, so he can't use it yet, which means we've got another turn. It also means the Dragonborn might go try and just kill that Draugr for a victory point, as opposed to trying to break the chest open. He is allowed to interact with chests as a free action though, so there's no harm in him trying that now before he does other stuff for this turn. In fact, let's do that live, because he should not be failing rolling under a 6 on a d12. But hey, it's happened before. It has not happened again, thankfully. He has successfully, let's just get that out of there, successfully smashed open this treasure with his brain, which is his fist, which means he finds treasure. He didn't get a crit fail either, so it's not that other quest, which actually would have been okay. He found a potent potion of plentiful healing. 1 use, free action, replenish black die worth of health points. That would have been great earlier, still could be I suppose. So yeah, he's going to activate next for sure, and I think I'm just going to go pick on that Draugr just because I can. So let's do a full power Fus Roda, which is 6 inches. 6 or less. He got a 6 on the dot there, and that is, that's 4, well it actually came down to a 5 with that. That's 4 damage base. Does the helmet do anything on Fus Roda? I don't think it does. Nope, but it is 2 inches plus 2 inches for each point of damage done. He gets flung backwards. His defense stat is a single yellow die. Oh wait, no, he has a 2, oh it's ranged, so his 200 block means nothing, and he blocked none, so he took the full 4 damage. So he just got obliterated into the back of the house up here and splattered off the table for the 7th victory point, because they got one for opening the chest. It finally happened. The skeleton archer I've been deliberately avoiding to stop giving him a reaction activation activated via random chance. It would have been so bad if he'd activated it earlier. He could have killed the Dragonborn. So he's just doing a ranged attack boosting for precision, and he got a crit, so it's still pretty bad actually. Never mind, maybe I spoke too soon, although he's done his part. So that is 5 damage coming in, and does the helmet do anything, or the Oblivion Gate now that he's got that? The helmet, you add an additional, oh wait no, ranged attack, piercing 1. Okay, well, Dragonborn is red armour with 1 protection against piercing, so the piercing doesn't do anything. He blocked 1, took 4, almost died again, but was able to live. Well, if we look at the situation down here, there isn't really anything I need to do with the Imperial Recruit, nor can he reach anything. I guess his best option would be to spend a stamina to charge and do a 9-inch move towards the skeleton, meaning he can pick on him next turn, but at the top of the next round, regardless of who activates at the top of the table, they can't get into any strike range. Aranea is just going to walk off the table with that civilian, or to the edge of the table rather, which scores us the last 4 victory points we need. So we can safely call the game there because there's no way to be stopped. Yes, someone at the top of the table would activate. The longest range the spiders can spit is 8, I think. 6, yeah, so definitely. And then at the top of turn 5, Aranea activates, walks to the edge of the table as 1 singular action. The civilian gets taken off the table, lost, scores for 4, and that takes us to the 10 I was aiming for. So let's call that there as a victory, even though the town is still overrun with undead and spiders. Well, having successfully saved exactly 1 person in a town overrun with threats, the adventurers and the Imperials that asked for their help are satisfied, calling that a win and just leaving. And that's just how Call to Arms works. I had forgotten how complex some of the rules had been, but no, not really. I was remembering very well how convoluted is probably the more accurate word, and messed up organisation-wise the original rulebook is. There is a better version. It's not much better, but it is a little better in how it's laid out. But either way, it still does play relatively well, but it's very easy to forget perks and things. I'm sure the intimidation on the Dragonborn probably would have been relevant when the Draugr Overlord was hitting him, unless the Overlord is immune to such things. Aranea doesn't have any special rules that were applicable, really. Mage armor, but she wasn't really attacked much, and I remembered the red armor for her. She has resistance to fire, that wasn't relevant, and Ancestor's Wrath, not relevant. Being Path of Sorcery, she might have been do an extra green die on her spells. I don't remember if that's a thing or not. I think you have to have like Destruction Mastery if you want extra dice for that, which she does not have. So either way, the point is though, it has been nice to return to Call to Arms for the first time in over a year, about a year and a half, maybe a bit longer. See how it is. I still need to get a lot of stuff I bought for it back in the day painted up so that we can have a bit more variety both in terms of enemies and who we play as. So you can let me know if you liked seeing this. Once again, it will not influence how often Wasteland Warfare appears, whether this appears more or not. They do play very similarly. So you can let me know in the comments whether you are for or against more Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. Just as a general thing, do you want it quite frequently or not so much? You know, just cast a general vote. That is going to do it for now though. Thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to show your support, and if you want to go above and beyond to support the channel, consider pressing the thanks button, subscribing, leaving a comment, becoming a channel member, or checking out my channel sponsor. Anything you buy via my affiliate link means I get compensated for you buying something for yourself, which would be very nice. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing, and I shall see you in the future for something else. Until then, ta-ta for now.